Governor Holcomb speaking for the first time since signing the state's new abortion ban. Plus, former Governor and Vice President Mike Pence says he'd consider testifying in front of the January 6th committee if called upon, as a key Republican on that panel is defeated at the ballot box. All that plus Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg on climate and energy as the president signs a sweeping bill into law. It's all ahead right now on this week's edition of In Focus. We could soon learn more about the various investigations into former President Trump, with a judge ordering parts of that affidavit to be unsealed. This as former Vice President Mike Pence says if asked, he'd, quote, consider testifying in front of the January 6th committee, whose ranking Republican, Liz Cheney, was just defeated in Wyoming, now among 8 Republicans who've been primaried since voting to impeach the former president. Today, we've got the latest from our Washington bureau, straight ahead. Also this week, we're hearing from Governor Eric Holcomb for the first time since he signed Senate Bill 1 into law, enacting a near-total ban on abortion that takes effect next month. State House reporter Kristen Eskow asked him about his decision to sign that bill into law.
The bottom line is that it's progress towards valuing the sanctity of life and expressing it through law.
Governor Eric Holcomb speaking with reporters for the first time since approving Indiana's near-total ban on abortion. Despite criticism of the legislation from both abortion rights supporters and anti-abortion activists, Holcomb signed the bill into law about an hour after it received final approval in the legislature.
Given the amount of discontent we heard from Hoosiers on both sides of the abortion debate, how did you arrive at the decision to sign the bill so quickly?
Well, I told the legislature I wasn't going to dither. I said if this met my threshold of making progress, as maybe imperfect as it was, that I was going to sign it.
Hours later, 2 of Indiana's biggest employers, engine maker Cummins and pharmaceutical company Eli Lilly, both criticized the new law. Lilly said it plans to explore opportunities for growth outside the Hoosier state. Holcomb acknowledged companies may consider abortion policy when choosing where to do business, but he believes Indiana will still be able to attract and retain jobs.
A lot of these companies want to grow, and their growth is off the charts in our state. Some might just fly over the state of Indiana because of this issue. I don't mean to be act like it'll never happen. It might. But so are a lot of other issues that factor into where someone invests.
From the Indiana State House, I'm Kristen Eskow.
All right, Kristen, thanks. Governor Holcomb recently called for a special election in the 2nd Congressional District to replace the late Jackie Walorski, who was killed in a crash earlier this month. This weekend, Republicans in northern Indiana choosing her replacement on the ballot, Walorski's widow endorsing her former finance director, Rudy Yakim. But some interesting names also entered that race, including former Attorney General Curtis Hill, former State Rep Christy Stutzman, and current State Rep Kurt Nisley, who was primaried out of his seat at the State House. Now, we'll discuss this entire process in depth coming up next week. Well, speaking of noteworthy primaries this week, Wyoming Representative Liz Cheney was soundly defeated in her home state. Still, she says her work on the January 6th committee will continue as the former president continues to face scrutiny. What does it all mean ahead of this year's midterms? Here's Washington correspondent Anna Wernicke.
Wyoming Republican voters fired Congresswoman Liz Cheney in Tuesday's primary, giving a landslide victory to her Trump-backed opponent.
Now, the real work begins.
Cheney said following her primary defeat that her fight against the former president is not over.
I have said since January 6th that I will do whatever it takes to ensure Donald Trump is never again anywhere near the Oval Office, and I mean it.
Cheney voted to impeach Trump and has been Trump's loudest Republican critic in the House. She is vice chair of the committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol.
Donald Trump has a list of the people he's been going after, and his top targets have been the 10 members of the House that voted for his impeachment.
Todd Belt is a political management professor at the George Washington University.
To see a sitting congresswoman go down in such a staggering defeat really underscores the power of Donald Trump over the Republican Party.
Only 2 of the House Republicans who voted to impeach Trump will be on the ballot in November. 2 resigned, and Trump-backed candidates won 6 other races. In Alaska, Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski survived her primary race Tuesday. She was the only senator in her party up for re-election who voted to convict the former president and was on Trump's hit list.
Someone like Lisa Murkowski, who's represented her state for a good long time and has really high name recognition there, that's a difficult person to unseat.
Trump reacted to Cheney's loss on his social media platform, calling it, quote, a wonderful result for America. For now, in Washington, I'm Anna Warnicki. Back to you.
Okay, Anna, thanks. Also this week, President Biden signing a sweeping bill passed by Congress known as the Inflation Reduction Act, which also provides billions to fight climate change and cut health care costs. Now, while Republicans say the bill won't help fight inflation, Democrats say the new legislation will help Americans at a critical time. Rashad Hudson has more from the nation's capital.
The new law is being celebrated by White House officials and climate advocates. The next step will be trying to sell it to the American people.
With this law, the American people won and the special interests lost.
Tuesday, President Biden signed the Inflation Reduction Act into law, calling the massive climate, health, and tax legislation historic.
It's about delivering progress and prosperity to American families.
Joining the president were key Democratic lawmakers who helped push the bill across the finish line, like West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin.
I said, it's not a green bill, it's not a blue bill, it's a red, white, and blue bill. It really is.
It's the nation's largest investment in climate. It directs nearly $400 billion in climate and energy programs with tax credits and incentives to cut emissions by 40% over the next 8 years.
And it's going to mitigate the climate crisis. It's going to protect our families.
The bill passed Congress with no Republican support. Missouri Congressman Jason Smith called the bill a reckless spending spree.
So lots of spending up front, lots of debt up front, and then maybe savings 8 years from now?
With less than 3 months until the November midterm elections, President Biden plans to hit the road in the coming weeks to explain what's in the landmark piece of legislation. Reporting in Washington, Rashad Hudson, back to you.
All right, this week we also heard from Transportation Secretary and former South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg, along with an economist who says this bill won't have an immediate impact. First, here's what Secretary Buttigieg had to say about electric vehicles in an interview this week with our Washington bureau.
So part of the design of this bill is not to support any electric vehicle, but to support U.S.-made or North America-made electric vehicles, and not so much the luxury cars, but cars that are going to make a difference for American families. The point here is that Americans can save money on gas by owning an electric vehicle, but only if they can actually afford it in the first place. So what the Inflation Reduction Act does is it makes those EVs cheaper.
The Inflation Reduction Act is not going to have an immediate effect on the inflation rate. The inflation that we're experiencing now is more of a short-term phenomenon, and the provisions that are in the bill are not going to really come into play until next year at the earliest. When company CEOs talk about their corporate earnings reports, many of them are pretty optimistic. So I'm looking at that as kind of a positive sign, but yet there are indicators like the yield curve that are pointing in the wrong direction and suggesting that we are indeed going to head into a recession. That's why this time period is confusing for many business analysts and economists, because we have such mixed signals right now.
What's next for the Biden administration priorities getting legislation passed heading into midterms?
Well, there's been extraordinary legislative accomplishment. I mean, just in less than 2 years, not only the legislation that brought our economy back from the brink of the abyss with COVID and saw all this job creation, that infrastructure law that moved on a bipartisan basis, the CHIPS Act, which is helping us get semiconductors and manufacturing here in the U.S., ocean shipping reform, the legislation for veterans with burn pits, really glad to see that pass as somebody who served in Afghanistan, and now this Inflation Reduction Act. It's extraordinary. We're going to keep pushing. Of course, the big focus in my department right now is to take all those investments that were provided and put them to work so that you actually see them coming to your community. We just rolled out grants in every single state in the country using dollars from that bipartisan infrastructure law, and there's more where that came from.
Buttigieg, by the way, here in Indiana, meeting with state Democrats this weekend. Now, in a statement, Congressman Andre Carson said Hoosiers deserve to know their representatives in D.C. are fighting to lower prices and fight inflation. He says that's why he was, quote, proud to vote for the Inflation Reduction Act, which takes historic measures to reduce the deficit and ensure a fairer tax code, said Carson. Senator Mike Braun also weighing in. He said Hoosiers are already taking a 10% pay cut from the president's inflation and high gas prices. Now D.C. is adding insult to injury, in his words, by doubling the size of the IRS and dropping another inflation bomb spending bill on the economy while calling it inflation reduction, according to Braun. But what about the impact of this bill here in Indiana? Our Kristen Eskow takes a closer look.
One component of the Inflation Reduction Act is the extension of tax credits for solar panels. Experts say you might see more of them on homes and businesses going forward due to this legislation.
Businesses say a federal renewable energy tax credit has helped more Hoosiers make the switch to solar. And there's a chance it could bring more on board.
I've already had 2 calls today that people are literally calling in because of the bill being passed.
Travis Summit works at Rectify Solar in Indianapolis, which primarily installs solar panels on homes. He believes raising that tax credit to 30% for installation costs will make an impact.
What we typically find is that people, as they're looking towards the end of their tax year, look to us and look to solar as an opportunity to capture some of the federal tax credit, and that's usually a big incentive to push people along.
That tax credit applies to other renewable energy sources as well, and will now be extended 10 years. It also creates other financial incentives to increase U.S. manufacturing of green energy equipment.
Indiana, it's been a great spot for renewable energy for well over a decade.
Justin Johnson, whose company is working to build solar plants in southern Indiana, says those provisions could allow use of renewable energy to grow more quickly.
I think that's one of the primary benefits of the incentives. You build it faster and more efficiently. Long supply chains make any type of construction project challenging.
The legislation also changes the requirements for the $7,500 tax credit on electric vehicles. Indiana University professor John Graham says the legislation will likely increase the use of green energy sources, but probably won't lead to monumental changes.
It will need to be accompanied by significant either regulations on industry or tax policy, like a carbon tax, or some type of economic incentive instrument in order to have a revolutionary impact.
Renewable energy has also been a big area of focus at the Indiana State House in recent years. Earlier this year, a new law went into effect that sets statewide standards for wind and solar energy projects. In Indianapolis, I'm Kristen Eskow.
Kristen, thanks. We'll talk about that bill with our panel after the break. Plus, could we see all 3 of these Republicans running for president in 2024? What does the future hold for Donald Trump, Mike Pence, and Liz Cheney? That's next.